When you see an agent that doesn't make it in real estate, what do you think are the biggest things they probably didn't focus on or lacked in order not to be able to get into the industry to survive?
I think that when they originally got their license, they had some type of hope that this was going to change their life. And they didn't plan and prep and prepare and do all the things on a daily. And then when they got into it, they realized, I don't really love this.
Elias, I've been wanting to hang out with you and talk for a while. The goal with this podcast is to show people what it was like before the finished product. You and Kenny run what, depending on the day, maybe the first or the second largest production team at EXP. And I've always admired what you guys do. And I've come to your office earlier this year. We had a mastermind that was phenomenal.
That was a lot of fun.
Probably the coolest physical office I've been to yet. But let's talk about the day one. How did you get to be there?
We got here by default. And the reason why is we were with a brokerage called Climb Real Estate that was owned by Realty. And at that time, Realty was going to launch two brands, Corcoran or Climb. And they felt that Climb needed to be sunsetted, and they rolled with Corcoran, and it left us in free agency. So we shopped every single brand out there, and we landed on EXP for two reasons. A, it was inexpensive from a brokerage level. And two, we were able to build something that didn't have to conform to industry standards, have limited liability from a broker level, and be able to have freedom and autonomy. That's all we needed to say, we're going to take the leap.
So I know that story. I want to go back even further. What got you into real estate? How did you end up in our industry?
By accident. I got my license originally to be in timeshare. I was in the vacation ownership business for 13 years. And then I decided I wanted to hang my license at Coldwell Banker in 2017. I walked in, I'd sold some homes prior to that, walked into Coldwell Banker, and the guy there said, "You're not a good fit for Coldwell Banker," 5 minutes in the conversation. And as I'm getting up, the alarm goes off. Everyone has to evacuate, thousands of people. And I'm standing there on the street with this guy. I said, "I don't think I'm done with this conversation." So I said, "Let's go across the street, let's get some coffee." We had a conversation. He said, "I have an executive leadership position available, and I want to offer it to you, but you have to do a series of things. You have to go to New Jersey. You have to apply." 30 days later, I got the position. And so I've been in leadership in the Bay Area since 2017.
That's an interesting twist.
And this guy is still my mentor, was one of the biggest jerks that I ever met. Shout out to Don Tanagan. But yeah, that's how I got into the business.
So how were you not a fit as an agent, but then as a leader?
So what they were looking for was something that I guess I didn't fit their mold for Coldwell Banker, but as a leader, they believed that I fit the mold. So it flipped the script right away. Once I spent a little bit more time with them.
And then how did you go from leadership to actual production?
So in 2020 and 21, I sold about 25 homes, but it's never been my focus to sell homes. My core focus has been coaching, training, developing agents, and making sure that my role is focused on human development. That's what I do best.
So tell people how it is that you guys operate the FAST team, because it's slightly different than other top teams.
Elaborate. When you say how we operate, go a little further on that.
So I know that you guys are very focused on creating people's individual brands. You teach them how to actually fish and create a brand and become a local influencer in their market, which is something that's fascinating to me.
Leo, here's what we realized is that when we remove our identity and help somebody build something that's intrinsic to who they are as a person, that creates a positive relationship to where they feel they're free to express who they are as humans. Then they feel like they have my back. They know who I am. And now they're building something that doesn't have to have their name attached to it. It's all about us and who we are as people. That's been our key differentiator since day one.
So walk me through what it's like to join the FAST team. I've never sold real estate. I just passed my test and I'm lucky enough to join your team. What does that look like?
So when you join, you have a 30-day checklist of series of things you need to do for the first 30 days. We obviously cover your tech, your tools, your social media booth for you to go record videos. We want to make sure for that first 30 days that you understand how to do a solid buyer's presentation and that you know how to do a very solid message to market with your consumers. We focus heavily on that for the first 30 days.
How do you determine who you allow into that world? Because that's a lot of investment in time and energy.
We take a lot of chances on a lot of new people.
And what does that typical ramp up period look like for an agent?
Could be 60 days, could be 120, could be 30 days. It just depends on the agent and what they're willing to give to this business. What we did before is we didn't get rid of people soon enough. Now we get rid of people sooner, so we can see if they're willing to do the things or if they're not.
So what are some of your favorite stories of a new agent joining you and following your system?
God, there's many, but we have an agent that is a second year in, just won the California Association of Realtors Rising Star Award. He'll sell 30 homes this year, and it's a second year, and there's over 200 agents. His name's Kuhn.
And what would you say has been the success that led that person to do that? Was there one thing they focused on? Was there a specific niche they fell into?
Hustle, raising his hand for everything, and he just mixed tons of videos. Tons.
So video-based.
Totally. Yep.
And so are all the leads inbound?
No, they're all his, self-sourced.
Off the video?
Correct. Thousands and thousands of views just from doing home tours.
And I was going to say, what are these? Because so many times I hear agents get stuck in, paralysis by analysis, right? It's like, well, I don't know which way to go. I don't know how to get started. So how, just as it is sample size of one, and you can give me other examples, like what works consistently? Like if I'm just brand new and I'm still a little confused as to what to start with.
Open houses, having conversations with everybody, not being a stranger, taking leaps of faith every single day, getting yourself on social and being visible and working in your community. Those are things that we've seen separate everybody.
Tell me some other stories. I like variety and what works, because you guys have a pretty large team. So I'm assuming you have different personalities with different ways of executing.
Tons of different personalities. We have people that have built their business on social, built their business on knocking on doors, built their business by being community advocates, built their business by focusing on a niche area, new builds. So it just depends on what they want to accomplish. And can we help them get there with our tools, our support, our coaching, our systems? So there's so many people. We've come across thousands of agents in the last 5 years. There's endless amounts of stories, endless.
And what was the path for you and Kenny to get together and have the team that you guys have now?
I was the director of sales for Climb Real Estate before they closed. And now when Climb Real Estate closed, Kenny came to EXP with the 10 agents. I went to Better Homes and Garden for 30 days, and then we got back together.
And so you said 10 agents, right?
Correct.
It's very different than what the Fast team looks like today.
Correct.
So walk me through that journey, because going from that size to where you're at today is a vastly different business. How many transactions were you guys doing when you came to EXP?
When we came to EXP the year before, about 80 million. The first year we did 127 million in production. This year we'll do 600 million in production.
All right, so let's unpack that. That's a ginormous leap.
Yeah. All right, so ask the specific questions.
So you came at 80.
Yep.
Then you said 127.
Yep.
In a 5-year period, you're now doing almost 5x.
Yeah, that third year we did 680.
So walk me through that, because sometimes people hear that and then they stop paying attention because they just don't think it's possible. Like what changed? Was it your philosophy, your systems, your process? What shifted?
I think for us, when we get focused really heavily on our group coaching, that was one thing that we did. We started out with 5 people coming to a group coaching session Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now it's become a staple. So you don't just learn from him or from her, you learn from tons of people at one time. Group coaching, making sure that we had a system for onboarding, that it wasn't just on a checklist, and making sure that there was more built-in accountability for us to say, here's our agent population. Every quarter, we analyze it to see who's doing well, who's showing up, and who are ghosts, and making sure that those people are either given an option to stay, recommit to their business, or choose to leave the company. So more accountability for sure.
And what happens at that group coaching?
So on Mondays, we talk about what's going to move your needle this week. What are the goals that you set for the week? What are your core must-haves and accomplishments that you're going to have this week? Wednesday, we have a high-level conversation about the market. And then on Wednesday, we talk about the action that you deployed that led to the success for your week. Every single week, same rotation.
And how do you keep people engaged?
By being human, connecting with them, reaching out to them. How you doing? Knowing what's going on with their family, their friends, their life, like human connection. That's how we keep people engaged. Because if I can connect with the human, I can move the agent.
And so what do you do to stay engaged? I follow you quite a bit on social, and I see, and I think I have a pretty good idea of your philosophy, but what can you share about how you operate that keeps you engaged every day?
For me, I'm an early riser. A lot of people say that, but Early riser, I read and I'm a student. I come to everything so I could learn, so I could level up, because how can I pour into everybody else if I'm not pouring into myself? So I'm a constant student, learn, grow. I have a coach as well in order for me to be the best for them.
And what would you say has been the biggest obstacles? We had a lot of shifts this year, 2024.
Yeah.
Talk to us through that.
I think just the preparation of it, but not over preparing, because I felt like if we over prepared, we were going to over scare. I think we had to lead with confidence. And so we just got in front of it. We had the conversations, but we had to make it feel, because I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. I think we just needed to have a sense of poise, make sure that we train, coach, develop them on the verbiage. And then when the 17th hit, we never see a dip in our sales, because I felt like they were confident enough to go out there and deal with our consumers.
And any surprises since then?
Not yet. Not yet. We're like, that's what a lot of people thought. There's going to be all these changes and oh my God, my business. But I haven't. Crazy.
What are you most excited for going into the next year?
Tracking. Like, I want to get super, super detailed on all of our tracking in different ways that we've ever done. So I think 2025 for us is going to be the year of tracking conversations better, conversion numbers, and pipeline reviews in ways that we've never did.
What do you think that'll bring the most impact into the business?
Well, my goal is that if we grow next year, which we anticipate growing, but say we don't grow, say we get down to 175 agents, then can we be number one with less agents, higher deal per agent count, and better conversion? Because I think that we're supposed to be number one at this size. And people think, oh, well, they're going to be number one because how many agents they have. I want to be number one with less agents and higher conversion.
Avery does a really good job with agent per count.
I know.
And what are you going to focus on to specifically move that needle?
Working on all of our lead levers, making sure that those are monitored, looked at, and moving leads in the way that they need to. And then making sure that we're analyzing everyone's phone calls, pipelines, and doing that more frequent than we did before.
And so that's all the super technical stuff, right? You said that you connect with people on a very authentic level. Well, talk to me about that, because leadership is a journey, right? So what do you focus on in order to be able to lead like that?
I want to just find out who you are. Like, what motivates you? What's going on in your life? What are the challenges that you face? Like, I want to know, like, vulnerability. If I could get to that level, then I feel like you and I can have a better conversation about metrics and KPIs. And if I try to go in it blind, I'm not going to get the results that I want. So I always want to start with, like, this, how you doing? What's going on in your life? How can we help get you to the level that you want to be at for your life and for your family?
What have you found to be one of the more impactful ways to have, a profound change on someone?
Allowing a space for someone to be vulnerable, share, open up, give their heart. And like, if I can get them to that emotional level, then we've reached a new pinnacle of our relationship. Now I can always go a little bit with that person. Vulnerability is key to my success as a coach.
And so are there things you guys do for them that you wouldn't typically expect the team to do?
We celebrate people for their activity. We call it Hustler's Lunch. Every quarter, we take the top people out for appointments met, doors knocked, conversations, open houses. We take them to a lunch. It's called Hustler's Lunch. We have our videographer there. So we give that a lot of life. We do our top producer dinner every 6 months, every 3 months. And then we also do our cocktails for converters. Anybody that's converted an online lead, we get those top people out, we celebrate them. So we're constantly finding ways to do something cool and special and fun with them.
And what do you think the people get most out of that?
Sense of community. I feel like culture is what people see from the outside. Community is what people experience from the inside of the company. And our community is super vibrant, super collaborative, and people have an amazing time building brotherhoods and sisterhoods and bonds. That's what we get out of it. Sense of community.
That's an interesting distinction. I don't think I've ever heard anyone phrase it like that before.
Yeah, that's my way of thinking about it, because anyone can see Google and oh, that's cool, and look at that, they have a cafe and all these things, but it's the community inside of the culture what separates us.
I'm gonna have that be a takeaway for me. I like that.
Okay.
And so, what about 2025 from an industry standpoint? Are you paying most attention to? Or do you just focus on kind of the day to day and what's in front of you guys?
We focus on leading indicators versus the lagging. Yeah, we want to have big numbers next year, but if our team can just stay consistent every day, making their calls, going on appointments, converting, doing the things that we know are going to move the needle, all the other things we don't have to worry about. We never look too far out. It's like, what can we do today? And how can we run our business in sprints? Now, 30 days, short time frames to give results.
And what are you seeing in the marketplace in general? Because, I do a lot of this recording stuff and I'm on camera a lot. I sat with a group of agents probably 6 months ago and I said, hey, don't be surprised if in 2025 you hear of an entire office closing, right? Of a franchise or an independent. Now we're probably saying the last couple of weeks, I've heard of two in California where on Monday the agent showed up at a franchise office and the doors were locked and they say you have until Friday to get your stuff out. Have you started to see, because we went through two really rough years in 23 and 24. And I think there's this level of pain and exhaustion in the marketplace. Have you started to see any of that play out in your market?
I see that some of the smaller boutique brokerages, I ask myself, how are they going to really survive? How are they going to compete? How are they going to have the tools, the resources, and the community like we have? And how are they going to stay ahead? And for a lot of them, they can't. We've seen it, and they started out years ago when everyone was doing like small boutique style. But I just don't think that they can compete. They don't have the resources, and they don't have the leverage and the training. We'll talk to people from smaller brokerages. They're like, we don't get access to any of this. We're getting trained by maybe one person that might take my call once in a while, but they're on YouTube trying to figure out how to run their business instead of being able to have a company and a team that will do it for them and educate them. So I believe that we're going to see an exodus of these smaller companies over the next couple of years.
Because, I track all of our numbers, and most of the agents who've left our company this year sold 0 homes to 0 to 2 homes, right? That's like something like close to 77% of everyone who's left EXP hasn't sold a house or has sold 1 to 2 homes. And after they leave, I actually track it. Most of them leave the industry. When you see an agent that doesn't make it in real estate, what do you think are the biggest things they probably didn't focus on or lacked in order not to be able to get into the industry to survive?
I think that when they originally got their license, they had some type of hope that this was going to change their life. And they didn't plan and prep and prepare and do all the things on a daily. And then when they got into it, they realized, well, I don't really love this. I don't love this business. I don't love the chase. I don't love the organization. And they find themselves out of this business. So here's the thing. If you love this business, if you want to be here and you choose to be here, then you'll find every excuse to show up. But if you're kind of just dabbling and thinking, I like it, but I don't really love it, then anything's going to stand in your way. A distraction. Oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to prospect. I'm not going to stay consistent. So they see right away if they truly are passionate about this business. If you're not passionate about this business, then leave the business because it's not for you.
So I like that you use the word hope. I actually say that most people don't have a real estate license. They have a hope certificate, right? They hope somebody trusts them, and they kind of do it haphazardly. The passion topic is interesting because I've recently heard somebody say you don't actually need to be passionate about the thing per se, but you have to have passion about what the thing creates, right? Or the time, the freedom, the leverage.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think you have to be passionate about your life 10 years from now. Like, what can I do? Like, I'm not working for Elias of right now. I see where my life is 5-6 years from now. So I'm willing to go through the struggle and the pain of, the market conditions, whatever, because I know what I'm working towards. When someone's on a line with a bigger purpose, they focus really on the now and they're unable to see what they're really working for. And this business takes some time, and sometimes they're impatient and they want results right now. I'm looking at the 5-year. I'm looking at where we're at in 5 years.
So I had an interesting conversation recently with a team that is pretty big. And verbatim, they said, everything's tough right now. I think we've ran out of buyers in my market and who can afford a house. And I said, hold on a second. When did you get your real estate license? And they said like 2016, 2017, but really didn't get into big production until 2020. So, for me, that was an aha moment. It's like there are big teams, not new agents, big teams who haven't been through a market correction. What do you have to say to those folks?
Poise. What I mean by that is that the industry will go like this. Consumer behavior will go like this. I think the media leads people as a shepherd, And some of the people, with all due respect, are sheep led by a shepherd. And they're going like this, and they're going like this. Oh, it's COVID, it's shut down. Is it a good time to buy? It's not a good time to buy. Interest rates are low, interest rates are high. Oh, this NAR settlement. So the consumer's like this. It's our responsibility to have a sense of poise when everything happens, right? Oh, Zillow came on the scene in 2005. It's going to take our job and they're going to give all the data to the consumers. We still sold a lot of homes. So I think that it's our responsibility to remain poised while everyone's doing this. Like a voice of reason when everyone else is doing this and this. I think that that's what we did good through all these changes. We went through pandemic. We went through interest rates going to 7.5. We went through the NAR settlement and we still were able to find a way to win because we were unshaken by that. We had a sense of poise.
And what do you suggest that the teams that don't have that confidence because they haven't been through one of these yet?
It's okay. Breathe. These are normal changes in our industry. Go back in history and look at all the changes, look at all the elections, do your research, take a deep breath and be a leader. That's what we're here to do. We're here to lead our team through these storms.
I think it's interesting because that's the only thing that's constant in real estate is the ups and downs, the cycles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what would be your parting thought for a new agent listening who sees you at the top of the rankings every month over month as one of the top 2 or 3 teams at EXP?
You have to take a leap of faith and you just have to stay consistent with imperfect action. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent because the biggest killer in this business is inaction. We all know what we need to do. We all know what we should do. But it's when you change that should into a must. I must do this for my family. I must do this in order to make money. I must do this in order to change my life. And a should is not even an option. So I believe that someone just has to say, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in because I'm going to commit and I'm going to stay focused on imperfect action, but I'm going to be consistent with that. People are looking for something to be perfect. Oh, it has to be the best video. Just post your bad video. Knock on the door. Fumble over your words. Make the call. I promise you, you'll get better and get better and get better. But if you don't build a body of work, meaning a data set, just like a big data company would do, then we have nothing to analyze. So go make the bad calls, knock on the doors, get the doors shut in your face, make the horrible videos, and now you have a body of work for you to analyze and get better. So go make a bunch of mistakes and be imperfect.
Well, I think that's some smart parting words. Elias, it's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure being here.
I appreciate your leadership in the company and the industry, and thank you for everything you do for all your agents.
Well, I appreciate you having me.